Okay, today we're going to talk about time management. I kind of like this clip here because it just is a good illustration that time doesn't stop or reverse, right? It just passes, and once it passes, it is gone. And so the theme of this is basically don't waste it because you cannot get it back. So here, the point I'm trying to make is that achievement requires prioritized time. So what do I mean by prioritize time? Life goal takes priority over time spent on unimportant things like social media, TikTok, YouTube. Time is precious. You must use it wisely. I like this quote by Steve Harvey. There is no elevator to the top. You must take the stairs. In my ground classes, I'll show this video clip, but there's just the point is there's no shortcut. Okay, it's hard work to achieve your goals. Okay, so you can see some pictures, some of which you should know, and then the gentleman on the bottom left is just a generic engineer, right? But this is a rhetorical question. But can you name one person, one, that has achieved something significant without applying significant time or effort? Okay, no, I don't think you can do that. Okay, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a musician, or whether you're a college student, if you aren't willing to put in the time, then you're probably wasting your time. Okay, there's just no easy button that you can hit. So as an illustration, I'll show this video in my ground classes, but this is two of my math students that I've had. It's probably two of my best math students, and not because they were just naturally brilliant mathematicians, because they weren't, but these were students that did everything the right way. The young lady on the left, this was her third attempt at college. She's a little bit older. She's in her early 30s. The young lady on the right is a more typical college student that was maybe 18 or 19 years old, fresh out of high school. Now, they both had a lot of similarities. They both had full-time jobs. They never missed a class. Both never scored below an A on an exam ever. Both asked questions about homework in every class. I don't think there was ever a class when I started and I said, are there any questions on the homework, that they did not raise their hands. They came prepared. And both attended office hours for additional help. Okay, and so they didn't use some difficult multi-level priority scheme to manage their time. It's just when it was time for school, they allotted time to attend and do the work, period. They made personal sacrifices. In some cases, they said they got up early. They didn't go out at night if they had schoolwork to do. And the bottom line is they prioritized school over less critical events. And both indicated they still had plenty of time to enjoy their friends and family and life. But they definitely understood prioritized time. Okay, the truth is we all get exactly 168 hours. Elon Musk, running three gigantic companies, still gets only 168 hours a week. And look what he does with his time. So this quote by Zig Ziglar, he's this management guru, says that it's a lack of direction, not a lack of time, is the problem. Okay, we all get 24 hours a day. Okay, so here's the goal. You want to be able to find the ideal balance among the things you want to do and the things you need to do. Trust me, you don't want to do math homework most of the time, or physics, or chemistry, or English, whatever it is, but you need to do it. And so you've got to strike that balance of doing that. And again, time management is kind of a misnomer because you can't manage time. That illustration at the beginning shows that it goes and it doesn't reverse, it doesn't come back, you don't get more. So what you really are managing is your behavior, not your time. Okay. And so what are the behaviors that we're talking about? Okay. Two things. You got to allocate time. So that's a choice, that's a behavior. And then once you allocate the time, you've got to use that time as productively as possible. You choose how to spend that time that you've allocated. Those are the behaviors. And so you can think of time kind of like a budget. Everybody understands money, right? The purpose of a budget, basically, you want to align your income with your spending priorities. Some expenses are mandatory. You don't have a choice. You got to have a roof over your head. You got to be able to eat. You got to clothe yourself. While other expenses are discretionary, travel, recreation, so forth. And if expenses exceed your income, then you got two choices. you can increase your income or lower your expenses. So the beauty of money is you can make more money. But what does this have to do with time management, right? It's very similar. Time is an asset just like money. Okay. However, you can't make more time. It is a fixed asset. Everyone gets exactly the same 168 hours a week. So you must budget your time to meet your life goals and requirements. You got to work, possibly. You got to sleep. You got to eat. There's things that you must do that you have no choice. The key is how do you spend your discretionary time, your free time? And basically, you can go bankrupt. Time bankruptcy is just simply a failure to meet your life goals because you poorly manage this incredible asset called time. Okay, so you think of it as a budget, okay? And one thing that you got to understand is, are you properly academically loaded? I've had students that work 40 hours plus a week, took a 15-hour credit hour academic schedule. They just couldn't do it. There's just literally not enough time to be able to do all of that. So you got to ensure that you're not overly loaded, but on the other hand, you want to make sure that you're not underloaded either. Then you got to allocate enough time to study. And then if you have huge amounts of free time, and I've seen students, self-confess 30 plus hours a week of playing games, social media, YouTube, whatever. If you have that kind of time to waste, then you should either go work and make some money and get some experience, or you ought to take more classes. And so the question is, what are your biggest time wasters, and what are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up to succeed? Okay, so here's the chart. It's pretty simple. You can see the work on the left column, how many hours a week you work, and then the units. The units are not numbers of classes, they're credit hours. So for example, 6 units is really 2 classes. Think of it as an English class and a math class. 3 hours each is a typical class. So if you're working full time, 40 hours, you should only be taking roughly 2 classes. And the amount of time that you should allocate to study is usually about twice the amount of time that you're in class, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the class. But you can see that all of the total time for your work, the number of credits you're taking, and study time all come in somewhere around 60. Okay, so if you're not working, you should be taking 15, 16, 17 credit hours of classes a semester. You want to get through school as quickly as possible. But if you are working, you may need to scale that back. Okay. Now, here's some people, young people that are, have done. If you equate success to money, which I don't, but the point here is these people at incredibly young ages have done incredibly well, at least financially. And my point is, what did they do with their 168 hours? I guarantee you it wasn't 30 or 40 hours a week watching YouTube. Okay, so the thing that you have to realize, and you'll read this and watch it on videos, is this fudge ratio, right? Students typically in college underestimate the amount of time required outside of class to do the work. High school, a lot less. College, you got to devote a lot more time than so this is a paradigm shift. Your time on task in college is going to be more. The quantity of work is higher and the quality of work is higher. And that is going to take time. So you've got to adjust to this in this new paradigm of college. So lastly here, there's 3 key elements: the what, the when, and the how. Okay, the what you don't get to choose, but the when and the how is up to you. And this is the secret sauce, if you will. So the what is the syllabus and is instructor driven. You don't really get to choose the what. I've got chemistry and math exams next week, plus my normal homework. Okay, got to do it. Where you step in is when. When am I going to prepare and do the work? Okay, and don't try to allocate only time right before an exam to do it. You should allocate time every day. Break study for exams and homework into chunks, and then allocate adequate time in a calendar to do it. Okay, you should be very careful to do this every day. Allocate the time to get your schoolwork done. And then the second decision you make is the how. How am I going to spend that time? Group study, if possible, flashcards, memory maps, these things, that memory tools. Do I meld my class notes with reading notes to get a great set of notes? What do I review my homework? Do I go to the Student Success Center for tutoring? Do I go to office hours? How am I going to spend the time? Do I eliminate all the distractions? When you sit down to study, if you say I studied for an hour, but 30 minutes of it you're looking at your phone, then you didn't study for an hour. You've wasted time that you can't get back, and you're going to end up having to lose time doing things that you would prefer to do. Okay, so the key points in wrapping this up: you don't manage time, you manage behaviors. You got to balance academics, work, family, and leisure. There's a priority scheme that you've got to enforce with your time. This is not the time of your life to be spending 30 plus hours a week wasting it, right? You got to launch. And if you're not willing to put the time in, then you might want to rethink if it's just the right time of my life to be pursuing an education. And then know the what, that you don't get to choose. When am I going to do the work, and how am I going to do the work? Okay. Have a good week. Enjoy this. This is like, I think everything is important, obviously, but obviously I think one of the biggest reasons that students don't do well is they fail to allocate time properly. Have a great week.